Nikki Haley was outvoted in the Nevada primary by none of these candidates. None of these candidates checkbox. So Haley ran essentially unopposed in the primary because remember back in Nevada, they said Trump couldn't be on the ballot of the primary. And so more people checked the box that they weren't voting than checked the box for Nikki Haley. Kind of a nothing burger, right? But like a little bit, I think it helps take away the power from the state. Like whatever Nevada was doing, right? So now Nevada doesn't have a vote in who the Republican delegate is. Right, because in theory, like she didn't win the majority there, so she can't get that nomination either. So it says the primary, which awards no delegates, had seemed like a foregone conclusion, right? But anyway, is it a nothing burger? Does it discourage states from actually doing stuff like that? Kind of showing them it doesn't matter if you take, because Trump is the first time it's happening, but the way that the world works is now in the future, states will do it, right? They will find out who they don't like, and they'll find reasons to take people off the ballot. Whichever side you're on, there's enough reason for people to try it. So, do you think it matters, Matt? Do you think? Well, it matters?
What's interesting?
Go ahead, Mike.
What's interesting about what you just said about is it a nothing burger? We've talked about the book Outliers before, and this is an interesting thought around this because if Trump wasn't running, or if Trump can't run for some reason, Robert Kennedy, we could have our first libertarian third party president. Let's just say that Trump wasn't part of this. And you look at what's happening in things like with Nevada, where, more people vote for no one than Nikki Haley. Like this, whether it happens in this cycle or coming forward, there's something happening that's really interesting because, I like Robert Kennedy, and I said this back in the day. I mean, I don't agree with everything, but I don't think you're going to ever agree with everything. And just back to that book on Outliers, and comparing, is this a nothing burger? I think there's a lot that these kind of things show us on the true sentiment of the majority of Americans out there that are not far right, not far left. And maybe a lot of people listening to this show might think that we're far right, but we're not. Like I'm a libertarian, I'm pretty centrist here. And I think there's a lot more to what you just pointed out in Nevada, even though it's funny and potentially a nothing burger, there's something happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like you said, the mainstream media is really good at labeling people nowadays in a very extreme way. But I'd have to guess that 95% of Americans who mainstream media calls extremists or far right want only to work for a living, keep most of their money, or at least have their money accounted for in terms of where it's getting spent. And if it really is impacting them, their families, their businesses, their communities, their states, their country, they want to raise their kids in peace without, schools and other organizations indoctrinating them or telling them what they need to do or think or how to be, get them a good education and own a nice home and be left alone, right? But at the end of the day, so many people are being labeled these things. And I think, like you said, Mike, the polls are starting to reflect the sentiments of where people are at, and maybe not even to the extent that it's as accurate as it probably is true in society and culture. But I think more of these kind of discussions and also the data that trickles out when you see some of these kind of, I don't want to call them bait and switch, but these interesting, strategies and ploys that you see on the political aisles on both sides starting to get exposed a little bit more. And I think people are starting to pay attention to that.
Well, I think you both summarized that really well, so I'm not going to elaborate, but I think we are, as entrepreneurs, we tend to lead libertarian, not right or left. We want to be left alone. We're capitalists when it comes down to it. And I think why this is not a nothing burger is I think that we see state and courts and policy and politics and power get involved where we feel like, hey, just let people decide. Now, regardless of who you want to vote for, there should be everybody on every ballot and let the people decide. I think that's why I think these things are kind of important for even Donald Trump, who is so controversial. Every time somebody talks about Donald Trump, their brain explodes. I think that's why it's important that he needs to be on the ballot, because let the people decide. If they don't want him, they can pick none of the above. But we start to lose libertarian principles when we take people off, and the people are not doing that. It's people way above. So, and nowadays, I think what's interesting too is with social media and you have so much data on social opinion in terms of what is the people thinking. So if 50% of people are thinking that, hey, I'm a Trumper and the polls are going that way, and for then government systems to get involved to say, we're going to run policies to pull that things up, we're running away from libertarianism, maybe even becoming socialist. So I think that's why this is not a nothing burger mooch, right?
Yeah. I think you guys are a lot more positive about America's future than I am on like the chance of a third party person winning.
It's got to be. It has to be not even choreographed. It just has to be all the right things coming together at the right time. Which usually, when there's some level of major change or disruption, that's what happened. It wasn't a strategic move by Republicans, Democrats. It's like they've got numbskulls on both sides of it, and people are just fed up, and that's the only way that it happens. So if you would have asked me that question a year ago, I would have said no. But the way things are going and the way that both parties are kind of sabotaging themselves, I think it's possible.
Yeah, I 100% echo that sentiment. And RFK, if you look at how he's polling with millennials and younger, millennials and Gen Z, one with millennials, he's polling much higher than Trump and Biden are. With millennial or Gen Z, which I think is 24 years and younger, right now he's polling significantly higher than both of them, I think, combined. So when you think about the future generations and the matters and the causes that they are extremely passionate about, I think it is starting to become somewhat of that perfect storm scenario where you could potentially see an independent take massive market share of the voting population and potentially win.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this snippet and want to catch the full episode, head over to our YouTube channel, The King's Table Podcast. The link is right down in the description below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, and ring that bell for notifications, and you are not going to want to miss this amazing content that we have for you every Friday. And remember, we love hearing from you, so drop your thoughts, questions, or feedback that you might have in the comments. We read everything, and we want you guys to respond so we can engage with you. It means the world to us. A big thank you for being part of the King's Table community, and if you found value in today's episode, remember that the cost of listening is that you must share it with somebody that may benefit, whether it's your friend, your family, your coworkers. So please keep sharing, keep engaging, and until next time, stay royal.